Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you on a Friday going into week 7 of college football, broadcasting live from mother-in-law's kitchen on our road trip to Knoxville. So we're broadcasting from the Hamm studios in Clarksville. Audrey and I set up camp here. We're going to be with Jimmy Hodge in Knoxville, which is where we're heading right after the show. Ken Capps will check in from out in Dallas-Fort Worth, Football Writers Association of America. In the second segment, longtime football coach in the Southeastern Conference with Auburn, the CFL high school legend in Alabama, Coach Philip Lolly will join us. Talk about a man's man. He put John Wayne scared. Philip Lolly knows a lot about football, about people, how to read people. This is going to be a lot of fun. Talk about unfiltered. You think Jackie Sherrill's fun? Philip Lolly, hey, does this dress make me look fat? Nope. It makes you look huge. He'll tell you the truth. We're going to love that. Top of hour number 2 will be joined by one of the nicest people out there. Will Rogers wasn't that nice. Bo Carter, a Big 12 office for years. Football writers, Football Foundation, Baseball Writers of America. Bo Carter, a former SID at Mississippi State, a native of Sheffield, Alabama, the Quad Cities. We'll check in, give his take on college football. And in the fourth segment, we'll head over to Knoxville, Rocky Top Tennessee Tailgate Report with Mark Hamm, kind of getting us get the appetizer for tomorrow's big showdown. Number 3, Alabama. Number 6, Tennessee. The banks of the Tennessee River, the Vol Navy. Boy, I'd like to have a drone right now showing all the activity heading toward Knoxville, getting ready for that big game tomorrow because it's going to be a big one. It is week 7 of the SEC. So do us a favor. Follow us on Twitter at Sidelines_live. We'll follow you back. That's at Sidelines, SIDELINES _live. Very simple to do it. And I want to thank everybody out there listening and our great sponsors like Gateway Tire and Service Center. We go the distance for our customers and the communities where we do business. And it's going to be a great weekend. You're going to be tailgating. Put some Miss Rubens rubs, black magic, white magic, seafood magic, Creole magic, anything that you want to taste better than Ezra. Put Miss Rubens rubs. You can get them all over the South. Publix, Piggly Wiggly. They don't have them at your grocery store. Ask the manager to begin stocking them. Tell them you'll be back when they get them. You can go to Amazon and Walmart and get them online. That's Jay Evers, Robert Landers, the great folks down there in Birmingham. Got to remember, Miss Rubens Rub's been around since 1935. A lot of y'all remember the old penny profit market in the capital city of Montgomery. That's where it all began. And those rubs you can put them on brisket. You can put them on ribs, seafood, anything, Tommy boy, that you want to taste good. Jimmy, how excited are you about this weekend? And I know Ken Capps will be on with us in a moment. But this is what we, you can feel it in the air. Believe me, it is cold this morning in Clarksville. And I think about what is going to be going on in the next 48 hours, the preparation up in Knoxville. But there are a lot of big games out there this weekend outside, before Ken joins us, outside of Tennessee, Alabama. What's the big one that's got you the most interested?
Well, there are a bunch of interesting games. I mean, Penn State and Michigan is obviously a big game. And that always gets a lot of attention again because the Big Ten is in the center of all the big media markets. So that's always going to get a lot of coverage. TCU, Oklahoma State. I mean, there's really a lot of action going on in the Big 12 because there's 5 or 6 teams that are in contention, I think, to win that conference title. And as a matter of fact, I was watching West Virginia and Baylor last night and went right down to the end, and they showed the remaining schedules for each team. and I didn't see an automatic win for either one of them. So that Big 12 has become a very interesting league. Then you got Clemson at Florida State tomorrow night. So there's a number of games out there that are really big. But I think, unless I am mistaken, that this is the first time that Tennessee and Alabama have met with both teams being undefeated since 1989. I could be wrong, but I was at that game, a game in which Alabama won at 47-30 on Bill Curry's 47th birthday, which obviously the Tide scored a point for every birthday he celebrated. So again, it was just another in a long line of very memorable Tennessee-Alabama games, although not as much, I'm sure, on the Tennessee side of the coin.
Well, what is really interesting, I remember 1989 Tennessee-Alabama game. Saran Stacy out of Geneva, Alabama, had a big game. that was a big game. I remember it really well. That one was in Legion Field back when Tennessee and Alabama played there. And, I tell you what, I missed a call from a Tennessee legend. For a long time was their leading rusher, the pride of Munford, Tennessee, Johnny Jones. And might see if we can get Johnny to call in possibly later this morning. But I still remember that 1983 Tennessee-Alabama game, walking out of the church, October 15th, 1983, my sister Susan's wedding. And I was walking out of Calvary Episcopal Church at 2nd and Adams in Memphis. And Johnny Jones, Tennessee, was at their own 34-yard line. And Alan Cockrell pitched the ball. He went 66 yards for the touchdown. Man, there have been so many great games. And I tell you, Jimmy, that you remember Legion Field, how bright, how just iridescent green that AstroTurf was on that football field. I mean, the colors of Alabama and Tennessee, the orange and white. That's just kind of a rite of passage in the fall, third Saturday in October. But the 1989, and that's when Auburn, Tennessee, and Alabama were co-champions of the Southeastern Conference. You don't see that, obviously. You hadn't seen it since we started the divisional format in '92.
Yeah, Saran Stacy scored on that famous 65-yard shuttle pass, and it's one of the prettiest touchdown plays, I think, in Alabama history. And Hollingsworth had a big game, and then I remember I was at that game, and I also was at the '84 game in Knoxville when, with 8 minutes left, Tennessee was down 27-13, and I can remember another Johnny Jones play. And I was at that game, and Tennessee had a 4th and 3, and they pitched it to Johnny, and he came to the ran toward the sideline away from the press box, and he got stopped about 2 feet short. And the reason I know is that it happened right in front of where I was. And in those days, you didn't have replay. Tennessee knew they were short, but they got up to the line of scrimmage real quick and snapped the ball. And the officiating crew did not stop the play, and they made it. And then they went down, drove down, and scored to make it 27-20. Alabama, in typical fashion in the Ray Perkins years, they played not to lose. Ran the ball 3 times, didn't make it. And Andre Kramer had a long punt return down to the 5-yard line, and they went down and scored and won it with a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. Speaking of crazy, Ken Capps joins us right now, Football Writers Association of America. And I am fired up having Jimmy. I love these stories about Tennessee, Alabama, UT, Alabama. We're talking to Ken Capps. And I hate this term, so I'm not going to say it. He lives in that area, Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington, they call the Metro, but I'm not going to finish saying it. No, Ken Capps, Football Writers Association of America, just attended his 39th consecutive Red River Shootout Classic, whatever you call it, Oklahoma and Texas. Wasn't much of a game. What was your takeaway? I know you got a lot to say about that, but man, that is a game that it just intrigues me. The Texas State Fair, funnel cakes, turkey legs, the yak woman guessing people's weight. What else can you do for fun?
Well, you can go see the world's oldest alligator too. It's out there. You know, I'm not sure if it comes back every year. I'm not sure if it's still alive, but it looks alive. So that's always I always try to go by that. And me and my 12-year-old daughter, we always play the duck pond, which you're assured of winning a prize. And so there's a lot to do at the state fair, but I'm not sure. I'm just not sure what happened to Oklahoma. They came out. I've never seen them come out that disorganized. I could not believe that their second string quarterback, Beville, was not more prepared, and tried running over and over and over again this wildcat formation. And when you've got Pete Kowalski and you've also got Coach Gary Patterson on your defense, they're going to figure that out pretty quick. And one of the things I wanted to mention here, because I've got three things I just want to kind of taking stats I took away. But believe it or not, now Jimmy, think about this: Oklahoma only reached the Texas red zone twice in the entire game. Once in the first half, they went for it on fourth down and were stopped, and then once in the second half when their running back Gray tried to throw a jump pass, and that was intercepted by Texas. Did you see that? Intercepted by Texas and run back. And so they just did not seem ready to play that game. And of course, Texas was really, really ready. So, I know the hot seat is really on Venables right now. Like I said last week, I think he's going to be just fine. One of the things that I read this week is he is the first outside hire of a coach, in like 40 years. Well, I don't consider him an outside hire at all. I mean, I understand the term. He was at OU for 13 years with Bob Stoops and won a national championship. He knows the scoop around there.
Yeah.
So,
and I agree, well, Ken. I totally agree with that. He was often mentioned by a lot of other schools for years to be brought in as a defensive coordinator before Dabo did it at Clemson. What a 10-year run he had. To think he's on the hot seat. Well, who am I to talk as an Auburn fan? Brian Harsin, he walking the green mile to Oxford, but I digress.
Yeah,
well, the patience of fans, man.
No, Ken, when you were talking about that halfback pass, it almost reminded me the week before of the ill-fated halfback pass Auburn threw against LSU. That was kind of the beginning of the end. And to make it worse, the pass was thrown by a transfer portal player who had come from LSU. And it also reminded me of the 2011 national championship game, the game 2 between Alabama and LSU, in which LSU did. Yeah, I was too. And LSU did not cross midfield until there were 7 minutes left in the game. So, but I agree with you. I think Oklahoma's going to be just fine because a lot of people tend to ignore the fact that Lincoln Riley, in addition to slipping out of town to LA, he also took a slew of Oklahoma players with him. And I think another thing that a lot of people don't realize, and this would be a great trivia question, is that all of the great coaches in Oklahoma history, the most successful ones, every single one became a head coach for the first time at Oklahoma, of all places, ranging from Bud Wilkinson all the way up to Lincoln Riley. And that's an amazing stat. You just wouldn't think that, because you'd think Oklahoma would be a job where you're always going to bring in an experienced head coach.
Yeah. Ken, that's a great point. A bit of trivia that Jimmy that's not trivia. Those are facts.
Right.
That's powerful stuff, isn't it?
That's very powerful. And, I think, Venables was even mentioned, when they were talking about Lincoln Riley, although, I think Lincoln Riley had that one pretty much in the bag before he went. But Bob Stoops was 7-5 his first year, 7-5, and then won the national championship the next year. So, but I mean, I've been reading all the Oklahoma sites just this week just to kind of get a sense of what's out there in Soonerland. And boy, they're ready to give up the ship on him. And they're coming out with new uniforms this week against Kansas, brand new uniforms. And there's been a lot of pushback against that because I think that Oklahoma has one of the most classic uniforms in college football. Just like Texas does, just like USC does, Notre Dame. And so one of the prevalent comments on the Oklahoma fan sites is, let's pay more attention to playing defense and playing football rather than worrying about putting on brand new uniforms this weekend.
Well, in the one of the, that's insane. I mean, that's like tampering with the Alabama uniforms, the Auburn uniforms. That you just don't do that. And the crimson and cream colors. Growing up in Memphis, there was always a lot of Oklahoma people that I knew. Fans growing up, friends of our family, whatever. And I think about, I don't know if you remember this guy, Ken, but I grew up, in Memphis, and my dad used to play handball, small ball, with a guy named Buddy Leak, who was a running back at Oklahoma, part of the famous 52 backfield. That photograph, that if you go in someone's office that's an OU fan, you'll probably see 52 backfield with Bud Wilkinson, Billy Venables, and all. And you think about the just incredible tradition they have out there. And my friend Steve, I'll tell you this story. This is a wild story on Oklahoma, but we're going to do this, Ken and Jimmy. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be right back on this Friday, the weekend, number 7 of college football. We got a lot to talk about. Hang in there with us. After this quick break, we got more to go.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Rob Browne back here with you on this Friday. We got Ken Capps, Football Writers Association of America. Extraordinary, just a great, talented, gifted writer out in Dallas, Fort Worth. Jimmy Hodge in Knoxville. We're here in Clarksville. Take the last train to Clarksville. Well, we were on our way to Knoxville on this road trip. I tell you what, man, we were coming up here yesterday. A Chartreuse microbus passed me doing about 95 miles an hour with 11 long-haired friends of Jesus singing Hook 'em Horns, man. It was a wild day yesterday. But Steve Leak, my friend, he passed away back in 2008, but his father, Buddy Leak, just died a few years ago as well, Oklahoma legend. And he said when they went to the football, up to the Waldorf Astoria, wherever they do the National College Football Hall of Fame induction, it was Billy Vessels won the Heisman at Oklahoma. And he got up there and he said, I'm up here and I won the Heisman because of that guy right there. It was Buddy Leak. When he was a freshman, Billy Vessels was hurt. And Buddy Leak was a freshman from Christian Brothers High School in Memphis, my alma mater, celebrating 151 years. It all began on Adams Avenue in Memphis, the LaSallian brothers. But he said, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And I think Buddy Leak ran for over 900 yards as a true freshman. But he talked about Bud Wilkinson, and I remember just how smart and the influence. And Oklahoma back in the 1930s, the Dust Bowl, we know about John Steinbeck's great novel. We all had to read it, The Grapes of Wrath. And he talked about what the governor of Oklahoma said, look, We ain't got a lot out here now. I mean, we've lost a lot of people and everything, but we're going to have great college football. And so 51 conference championships, 7 national championships, 7 Heisman Trophy winners. Those people out there don't need to touch those uniforms, Ken. Please put the word out. Jimmy and I and everybody, Crimson and Cream is iconic.
Well, it's too late because
Okay.
They're going to, according to everything I've seen, and I've seen pictures of the uniforms, they're going to debut them tomorrow versus Kansas. And, Kansas is an underdog, believe it or not, to Oklahoma. And there was talk about that. It's like, how in the world is Kansas an underdog to Oklahoma? But, it is a home game. And there's, so I can see that. But I agree with you. I think those uniforms are just amazing. I really love, I've always said, take the names off of all the uniforms. Be like USC and Notre Dame and Penn State. I don't want any of those names on there. And I think they look great. But, I just wanted to mention 2 other things about the Texas OU game before we move on to Baylor, West Virginia, and a couple other things. So some Gee Whiz stats. OU, which is according to ESPN now, OU, because I didn't look all this up, OU had the longest streak going of 167 games with an offensive touchdown scored until Saturday. So they had scored an offensive TD for 167 straight games. That was the longest going in NCAA college football until Saturday. And then, of course, it's the worst loss ever in the series for Oklahoma, dating back to 1900. And I think Bo Carter was alive, and he was at that game, so he would remember that.
And my dad.
And your dad. But here I think is the most humbling stat of all of that game. And I had a friend bring this up to me at the game. He said to me, you know what we haven't seen today out here, Ken? And I said, what? And he said, we haven't seen the Sooner Schooner. The wagon with the because that stays parked in the tunnel of the Cotton Bowl with Bevo's trailer. They're right there side by side, and the only time the Schooner comes out on the field is when OU scores.
Yeah.
So that Schooner never took the field for 60 minutes of football last week. That's a big stat, guys.
That is a big stat. I mean, and you think about, God, I mean, what do we love about college football? Thank you, Robert Durham, John Hearn, Maury Gaston. History, traditions, and heroes. That's what we love about it. That Schooner, I mean, the way they're playing right now, if it does come on the field, the next time it does, eventually it will, one of the wheels may fall off.
Well, that happened a couple of years ago. It actually turned over, and it was it was nothing to really laugh about. Those 2 students that were on the that were there on the seats, could have gotten seriously hurt. But on the flip side of that, Bevo, the Texas mascot, was able to get out of his pen there on the opposite end zone, and he took a little stroll out onto the Cotton Bowl field there for a few minutes when Sark and the team were getting the golden hats. So that was a fun sight to see as well.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you one thing. Yeah. Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, Ken, another great Sooner Schooner story was when Oklahoma played in the Orange Bowl. I forgot who it was against. Switzer was the coach, and they lost the game. And it was a very competitive game in which a number of, let's say, 50-50 calls went against the Sooners. And to make matters worse, near the end of the game, Oklahoma had scored a touchdown, and the Sooner Schooner came out on the field, and the officials flagged them for unsportsmanlike conduct. And Switzer said after the game, I told these guys before the game that after touchdowns, the Sooner Schooner's going to go out on the field. And the outcome had already been decided, so they throw the flag anyway, and it was just a fitting conclusion to not a very memorable night in Oklahoma history. And, yeah, I remember when that wheel came off. It's probably about 10 years ago, and, man, that thing, I mean, it just tilted over. And man, oh man, there was some, I think, changes in school policy on how the Sooner Schooner is equipped before games, and to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Well, I think it was the original wagon, that they used on the Oregon Trail or something back then. And so now I'm sure that they've redone it with modern hydraulics and brakes and everything else. But yeah, I kind of miss seeing the Sooner Schooner out there because, like you say, Rob, it's one of the greatest traditions in college football. And but the other thing, back to real football for a minute, is this is once again becoming the trend that I've seen is this is becoming the year of the backup quarterback, because you look at, David Card at Texas, and then you have Ewers come in, and, David Card, for everybody griping about David Card was 2-1 while he was in as the starter and kept Texas from going totally off the rails. Okay. Then Ewers comes in and just clobbers Oklahoma. Last night we saw the Baylor quarterback go out. He had already thrown for 326 yards and 2 TDs. Then he goes out after a targeting call. The second string guy comes in, throws an interception to lose the game. And of course, the Oklahoma had no answer at quarterback last week. And I'm telling you, if you don't have a quarterback, if you don't have a second string quarterback, you're really in a tough spot in this college football season right now.
Yeah, Ken, we just got a couple more minutes before our next guest, and I know we got to get you. We love having you on. Your library of information on college football is just exceptional. We said this last week. I think in the SEC, 5 or 6 teams had to go with their backup quarterbacks, and there's an interesting stat. Prior to the transfer portal, October 15th of 2018. 42% of high school quarterbacks ended up finishing their career at a school other than the one they signed with out of high school. That number's a lot higher now. If you get a good quarterback and he thinks he's better than the starter, which they all do, and he's gone, look at Arkansas, what they had to go with against Mississippi State, Kentucky against South Carolina, Alabama, Jalen Milroe out of Katy, Texas. They know a thing or two about high school football out there. I totally agree with you. Ken, do us a favor, and we'll get you back on next week to talk more about this, because what you bring to the table, thank you, and we appreciate it beyond belief. How can people follow you? Because you need to be following. I remember as a kid reading Herschel Nissenson and these national sports writers, Rick Riley and whatever. That's what you are. Give them your info, and they need to follow you.
Not even close. But anyway, my Twitter is Texas Six-Man Ken, because I love six-man football here in Texas. And then also the FWAA website. Check it out there. And I'll just end on this. The game I'm really interested in the SEC this week is going to be the LSU game and Florida. 2 first-year coaches, Brian Kelly and Billy Napier, facing off with each other. Yeah. So I'm really interested in seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what, college football, all the people that tried to write the narrative, oh, the fans aren't coming, it's getting better and better and better. But you know what we need a return of is that alpha male culture at a lot of schools, toughen these kids up. Kevin Skarbinski, great sports writer, was on the show with us. He is every Saturday. He said, don't be a snowplow parent. Don't move every obstacle out of your kid's way. And Frank Duffy, who's listening right now down in Florida, said, hand them a dadgum shovel. Get to work, son. So, hey, Ken, thank you as always. Have a great weekend. Look forward to talking with you next week.
All right. Thank you, guys.
You bet. All right. Let's head down. Coach Philip Lally, man. If you know anything about college football in the South, you better have tough hombres out there coaching these young men, people that know how to evaluate young guys, whether they can play or not at a young age. It's all about recruiting 24/7 in your sleep, before that was even an official website. Coach Philip Lally, 17 years on the staff at Auburn, most recently in the Canadian Football League. Can't wait to hear about, how his defenses were so successful up there. But Coach Philip Lally ran into you a couple of weeks ago. Doug Dean and I did down at Stillwaters at Lake Martin, which is one of the most beautiful lakes, 750 miles of coastline. But just talking with you, every time I hear you talk about football, the passion that you have, you know what, honestly, you are what we need more of in college football because you love the game. You ain't just there to pick up a paycheck, but welcome to Sidelines.
Oh, I appreciate that. I really do, Rob, and look forward to talking with you this morning.
All right. Hey, let me ask you this. We were just talking with Ken Capps out in Dallas about that OU Texas game and going on in the Big 12 and all. Of course, they're coming into the SEC. He said, there's already tons of Oklahoma people. Brent Venables, I'm sure you know him or know a lot about him. Hadn't even been there a year. He was there 13 years at Oklahoma, went to Clemson 10 years. Now he's back. People are already pushing the panic button. How do we stop this?
I don't know if you're ever going to stop it with people that like to win, right? And I know, some of the same things happen at every level, whether it's high school, college football. There's pressure, and
yeah.
And I used to tell my coach, if there wasn't any pressure, they probably wouldn't want to win. We probably wouldn't want to be there, So a certain amount of it's good. I do think sometimes it's a little the quicker that they jump the gun now before, they give a guy a chance to get his, stones at the bottom built strong, let's say, get the building strong at the base,
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be just jumping around, hit and miss. You want to program this area year after year. And you got to give a guy a little time. How much time? Who knows? But, you got to give him a chance.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. You've got such a great history of coaching high school football and college recruiting and all. What's different about, and I look at schools, not just Auburn, but Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tennessee, recruiting. You've gone up against the best, and you're one of the best recruiters and coaches. But what's different about recruiting now versus, say, 10, 15, 20 years ago?
You don't know. It's always been tough recruiting. There's a lot of elements that, so a lot of people don't understand or know about, Again, if you don't get the base groundwork done, and which in the high schools, if you're coaching college football, the high schools is critical. I mean, if you don't have the high school coaches and them understanding your program, what type of young man you're going to recruit, all those things, and you don't have the connections, good luck to you.
Yeah.
Good luck to you. Some of those things, the elements, you can have everything in order and be doing a heck of a lot better job than some coaches on the other staff. And it still don't work out for you sometimes. So you have got to get, and I think when me and you were talking a few weeks ago, I used this analogy. And I used to tell the young coaches that come into the SEC and come into the state of Alabama. And I said, there is 2 colleges here in the state of Alabama that plays in the SEC, not just one. And we got to compete with those guys, and we're not going to have a job long. And, when 10 people are born in the state of Alabama, and this is just my own analogy, it's not any statistics I got anywhere. And maybe some of it's true, maybe some of it's not. But I always felt if 10 children were born in the state, that 8 of them were going to holler roll tide.
Yeah.
And I know some of my Auburn people used to look and say, oh, no, we love, I said, I love Auburn too, but reality is reality. But those 2 other kids are going to holler war eagle. Now, if you get 60 prospects in the state of Alabama every year, the way I look at it is 2 times 6 is 12. If we can get 12 of those guys that were born to come to Auburn that can play, we got to get those guys aboard. If you're going on a fishing trip, you go eat fish, you better get some fish in the boat, right? First.
Yeah.
And you go after the bigger fish later. But
yeah,
you better get those that it matters to. And that's what I used to always go by is I'm going to get those guys right there. And then then out of the ones left, if they can't sign but 25 this year, and there was 60 to start with, we'll do the math. They're still going to be over half of those left, right?
Yeah. You're
still going to have 24, 25 to choose from. And from that point, you tried to out-evaluate Alabama. You wouldn't go out 5-star most times, but you could out-evaluate, and get some of those that they didn't think might could be developed in that next year or two. But you had to take care of your own state first, and we have to take care of Georgia, and we had to take care of, our contacts in Florida, and that was our basic, and Mississippi. But all the southern states, and I know when I recruited Tennessee, as you know, I did real well myself up in the Nashville areas and all through there, evaluating it. But anyway, Rob, I mean, that's just I could go much further and talk about it all day, but that's the basic thing that I used to try to go by when I started,
Well, and it makes absolute sense. I mean, Jimmy's an Alabama guy. He's still a good person. And, I've got Alabama people in my family, Auburn, my wife, I remarried, Tennessee, Vol for life. That's why we're going to Knoxville this weekend. And, but my blood is orange and blue. I'm an Auburn graduate. And, you're right. I think if you're born an Auburn man, you're never going to leave Auburn and start pulling for somebody else. It is a commitment, and it's a way of life. And, that's what is different about you versus some coaches. And we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to ask you about some recruiting stories and you talk about evaluating. That is so critical. It's like some people are really good stock pickers because they see value where there's basically blood in the streets. That's what Sir John Templeton said. I'm going to make my money. Don't tell me where things are good. Tell me where there's blood in the streets. I'm going to go pick up the value. And it's not the quantity, it's the quality of the people that you recruit. And if they can't handle being coached hard, you didn't need them to begin with. Rob Browne, Jimmy Hodge, Coach Philip Lolly, right back after this quick break.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
I'm Browne back here with you, broadcasting from Clarksville, Tennessee, on our way up to Knoxville for the Tennessee-Alabama game this weekend. Got Jimmy Hodge over in Knoxville already, the advanced team. Coach Philip Lolly, and Coach, I think you said you're heading on a fishing trip. Y'all down in L.A., Lower Alabama, the Florida Panhandle? Are you in Orange Beach? Where are y'all?
We are. We're about as low as you can get without crossing over into Florida. I think I'm about 2 miles from the Floribama.
Oh,
so I'm right on the line. But I'm going with some people this morning that's been asking me to go for a while, and I've not been able to. And I decided this weekend might be the best weekend since Auburn's playing away, and they tried to tell me that they got the best fishing boat around to watch this stuff. They said they pick up ESPN 100 miles out, whatever. So anyway, we're going this evening. We're going to travel tonight, get there, and then we're going to fish all the way back tomorrow and watch ball games as we fish. So sounds fun. So
you can't get any better. Bluefin, yellowfin, tuna, whatever, snapper, grouper, mackerel, maybe catch a shark or two. But y'all are going to have a great time. Coach, funny thing, and I just think about recruiting, and I know Coach Horton, Tim Horton, and I just remember when he used to tell me, he said, after National Signing Day in February, I get to go home and be with my own kids because I've been with everybody else's for months. I got to ask you a couple of recruiting things. I heard Coach O being interviewed about recruiting. He said, you go into a lot of kids' homes all over the place, all over the country recruiting, especially in Louisiana. What happens when you go there and they're serving a meal and it's just terrible? What do you do? And he goes, you ask for seconds.
Exactly.
What is it like? I mean, I remember a story Rodney Garner told about Coach Dye. When he recruited him, he said he came to our house, we made dinner, and after dinner, he didn't just sit there on the couch and talk. He went in the kitchen with my mother, rolled his sleeves up, and washed dishes with her. And when he walked out of the house, she looked at me and said, son, that's the man you're going with. That's what you're like in recruiting. I know people who have, seen you, you're really good at it because you're genuine. And what would be the first thing that you would do if you were a coach at a school like Auburn or Georgia or Alabama or Tennessee? from day one, what would be the first thing that you would do?
Well, you got to find out who's got his ear first, who he trusts, and that could be a lot of different angles. It could be the high school coach more than his parents, really. It can, because that is his home away from home, is around that coach all the time. It could be an uncle, an aunt, a grandmother, someone they listen to, for information. I always felt just, be yourself, go in, go to work, roll your sleeves up, go after that young man, and it'll all start just falling in place. You'll know which direction to go. Again, I enjoyed it. I tell you, I was had big families growing up. I was born and raised in Choctaw County, Alabama. There was 12 children on my father's side, and there was 11 on my mother's side. And we lived up some old dirt roads, and we had to work. We worked hard for a living coming up. And so anyway, I love being around people like that. I don't get intimidated by that. I don't get intimidated by any of that. I've seen poor. I've seen it all. And there's a special place in my heart for those people to fit in too, I go back when I was a high school coach. I had these guys that had a tremendous amount of money that would love football, and we were generous to our program. And then I had these people that, when I talk about live from paycheck to paycheck, I'm talking about they had to have that weekly paycheck. But on Wednesday nights, they loved to come out there and talk to me when I lined the football field off, and we'd all dip Copenhagen together back then. I've recently quit, but back then, but that was the way they contributed to our program. And it was very important that I had those people too. So when I recruit, I think about it the same way. There's a lot of people, all right, that's an influence in this guy's life, but who is he really going to trust in the end?
Yeah.
In the end. So go ahead, Rob.
No. That's what it is. And I remember just when I worked in Columbus, 89 and 90 and 91 for Channel 3 as a reporter. And I remember one time there was a writer, L.C. Johnson, for the Columbus Ledger Enquirer. And I said, man, you ought to call down there to Daleville High School. He said, "What? Why?" I said, "Because they got a running back down there named Tony Richardson that I heard is ready to commit." And he called down there and got the story. And Tony Richardson, came to Auburn, fullback, and played 17 years in the NFL from Daleville. That's Pike County. The Wiregrass down there. And I
played for the championship in '93. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm saying I remember. As a financial advisor, 31 plus years, I remember the first time when I started going out in the country to Ripley, Tennessee, and up there, the tomato capital of West Tennessee. And somebody asked me, this couple up there out in the country, they were clients of mine, asked about pot liquor. I knew about pot liquor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I remember Bo Jackson's mother said that when Bobby Wallace, Auburn assistant coach, would go up there and spend a lot of time, she worked 3 jobs, and one of them was cleaning a hotel or motel at night. And he'd just sit there in the kitchen with her, talk about everything but football. That's what it takes, doesn't it?
Correct. Hey, get involved in her life. Find out why this kid is the player he is. Somebody's influenced him, right? Somebody's had a big influence in his life. And it's important to get to know that, because winning football games, to me, X's and O's is important, but everybody knows those. It's those other things that you caring. And I don't think you can fake that.
Yeah.
You got to care about them,
Yeah.
Want them in your program. And if I walked in a house and after a while, 2 or 3 times, and I got that feeling that I don't know if he's going to make it at 5 o'clock in the morning with us, with me and Coach Yox and him down there. Hell, it's tough for him to make it to class by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay. And who in the heck says when he gets to us? There's going to be some coaching here now, but is this worth it or not? Is this the type of young man we want or not?
Yeah, it is. That's what it is. It's about finding out. If a dog will bite, he'll do it when he's a pup, and you gotta be able to realize that.
Correct.
And that's part. Hey, Jimmy Hodge, jump in here with Coach Philip Lally, Choctaw. That's Silas Johnson, a great defensive lineman from Auburn. Was from Choctaw County and Choctaw, Alabama, over there right near the Mississippi line. That's tough. That isn't pulpwood country. That's just tough country. Jimmy, jump in.
Well, Coach, as one of the many lifelong SEC fans, that passionately follow not only our favorite teams, but every school in the league. We all know that from a recruiting standpoint, I really like the recruiting analogy you use, saying that, you and your coaching staff had developed a great relationship with the kid, and then at the last minute, it didn't work out. And we all know that in the SEC, everybody's always played on the edge in regards to recruiting. And I'm just wondering what you think about now that it's out in the open. Everything is legal. and
and I hadn't hadn't coached in that situation yet, where all the NIL and all the different stuff's taking place. It's a whole new ball game. But you know what? You just adapt to the rules. You can sit and argue them, this, that, and other, but they're there. They're there. So somehow you've got to be better than the other group at whatever you're doing to, balance that out, right? And
yeah,
but Lord, the transfer portal, man, Lord have mercy. But anyway,
yeah. Well, from your standpoint, if you were on a current SEC staff, what would your philosophy be on this in a balance of players that you bring in after a season ends and going into the next year? Because now it's really got to be a tough dilemma, because when you can get a player that's already proven himself at the Division I level that maybe had been overlooked as a high school recruit, but yet he's experienced, he's already had good coaching from a Division I staff, but he wants to play at a higher level and compete for championships. I mean, as a coach and you're evaluating players, I mean, it's hard to really not favor those type of players over those highly talented high school recruits. They have a very high ceiling, but you have no idea until they get to campus just what kind of timeline will take place before they can become a significant contributor to your program.
Exactly. Then you got to make sure that he's going to fit in with your philosophy and your family. And sometimes I've seen people jump the gun, especially, and I'm going to go back to pro football for just a second, Jimmy, where I've been up there where the GMs get involved and you got a great unit. All of a sudden you bring this defense because you've worked the heck out of them and you expect certain things, and your attitude is now within that defense. And I've been there where we come from last to also number one. And I mean, buddy, we got the chemistry working. I mean, it's there. Okay, they got each other's backs. Guy gets hurt. We know who's going to step up. We know how everybody in there is going to react. And then all of a sudden, here's 2 or 3 great players on the market. But then they don't, talk to you about it enough, or, sit down with. They say, well, we got to go get this guy, and it disrupts the entire room.
Yeah,
the chemistry's not there anymore. They don't take that into consideration at all. Okay.
Yeah,
I've had this happen. All right. And in fact, I left the club because of this. And I just told him, I said, as long as you're interfering, I'm out. Gone. Because we went from last to number one, and he made 2 or 3 deals that disrupted the room. So all those things you got to think about now. When you're going this route you're talking about, yeah, they're proven, but proven in what system? Proven in what style of coaching? All right. Are they going to be able to fit in with my guys and their great attitudes, or are they going to come here and disrupt it? So, you just go with it. You study it, make a decision, you go with it. But the difference of it up there in college football, your head coach has got to hear you out, where you don't have to mess with the GMs, But anyway, it's all the same.
Hey, Doug Dean, jump in here with us to AU Dose. I think Coach Lolly. This is great. Coach, thank you so much for taking time. I know you're about to go on a fishing trip, but we really appreciate it.
Yeah, you appreciate you.
Lolly, how are you doing, sir?
Doing good, Doug. How you?
Fantastic. I look forward when the stars align. We'll have a skull session led by Philip Lolly somewhere on Lake Martin. I'll get that arranged. But my question, thanks to Rob and Jimmy letting me barge in real quick. I've been for some years now, as I know you have, fascinated with the whole question of is it, I'm sure I'm going to get a reaction from you on this. Is it still the case, at least to the same degree, that you win championships with defense, because it looks lately, if you look at LSU 2019, Alabama 2020, and we're going to be treated to a game in Knoxville tomorrow that has every possibility of breaking into the 40s potentially. And after I say that, it'll be in the 20s. But it looks like there's 2 or 3 games every SEC team is going to face or play during the season in which you better be able to get in maybe the mid to high 30s in the game. So do you still believe that you can assemble a defense that wins in an old school way, where you're not required to break the 40-point mark to win a big game?
I think it is. Of course, I'm a defensive guy, and I think me and you talked one night. You asked me, what preference-wise, offense, defense, that I think. But defense, you got to react to something that you've already seen a stimulus out of the offense do, right? So
yep.
I'm a defensive guy. I believe that the toughness of your teams, the discipline of your teams, everything comes from hard nose. In the end, and I used to use this analogy. I've worked for 1 or 2 coaches that always wanted me in zone and to back off with my defensive backs. And I'm like, so we're going to give one of the greatest athletes in the world a straight run at me up the field, right? And then I got to try to hold his level. He's running a 4-3, and I'm in a back pedal all night. Okay, and I'm off the ball. And I'm going to give him 6-yard hitches till, heck freezes over, right? So all the way down the field, you're going to nickel. Sooner or later, a championship's going to be won when it's 4th and 1 or 2. What you going to do? Back off 6 or 8 yards now? Okay. They said, well, no, coach, get up there and press it. Okay, how much have I worked on that in practice, because you're running zone all day? All right. How much experience do I get on 4th and 2 for stopping the guy? I need to be doing that from day one. Okay. That's where the championships are going to be won in the end, to me. Okay.
You believe in attacking, right, Coach?
Do what?
You believe in attacking, all things being equal?
Oh, absolutely. Hey, look, who touches the ball on every play? And that's what I tell all my defense. Who touches the ball on every play? Quarterback. Okay. Now, you think I want that guy comfortable? Okay. So I'm going to disrupt him as much as I can. Now, they're going to call a penalty anyway. If you hit them low, let them high. We have to a whole new tackling rules. And I had to go by them to what we call the strike zone in baseball. That's where we're trying to hit those guys, but then they duck into you and whatever, and it's always on the defense, right? So I'm like, all right, so what, guys? They're throwing 15-yard penalties. So, hey, if they want to play that way, let's press them up and hit him. They're going to call it anyway, all right? I'm not talking about being dirty. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about disruption, all right? So if they're blocking with 7, I'm going to send 8. If I have to. I'm not going to have to, but if I have to, if they're blocking with 6, I'm going to send 7, but I want him hit. I want him just comfortable. I can't sit there and watch this guy up and down the field beat me to death and demoralize the defense. That's demoralizing. Okay. All right. Now, and then people talk about the hurry up offense is going to score points, Doug. But you know what they'll do? And this just makes me sick to my stomach. I watch it all the time. They'll do that, but yet they'll play soft defense, back them off, and let them drive the length field 19, 20 plays, take up 7 and 8, 9 minutes. Well, what's happening to your offense now? Okay. As a head coach, tell me, go get the ball back, coach. I said, yes, sir. Get the ball back, or they're going to score anyway if this keeps it up. Let them score when we get the ball. Okay. But don't sit there. You're talking out both sides of your mouth, Doug. You feel me? And it's tough.
So what you're saying, sorry to interrupt, but you if you're going to run a hurry up, no huddle, then you would want that head coach to allow you to be pretty aggressive, almost to the point of reckless, to force the issue and not have those long drives.
Absolutely. Let's force something to happen. Let's don't sit back and wait for something bad to happen. Okay. Let's force the issue early. Now the offense can't complain they're not getting the ball back, because I'm sitting here going, hey, I'm finna go get the ball back for you. If not, if they want to strike us quick, fine, we get it. Okay. But we're not going to sit around with these guys with white uniforms with no grass stains on them at the end of the game. That's not happening. Okay.
Well, I think you just wrote the defensive game plan for Alabama tomorrow.
They're going to have to mix up. They've got to make this guy see what he thinks he sees and see something else, and however you have to do that. In the Canadian League, I could really disguise real well, but I had to.
Hey, Coach, hold that thought for just a second. We're going to take a break. We'll come back.
I'm going to cut out, Rob. Thanks for letting me come on with Coach.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a great question. We're going to pick up on this point right after this quick break on Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Hey, Rob Browne back. Great call in there from Doug Dean, AU Dose down in Birmingham, Lake Martin, wherever he is today. Coach Philip Lally joining us right now. Jimmy Hodge up in Knoxville. And Coach Lally, you were making some great points about the Tennessee-Alabama game and the way you would go after Hendon Hooker or Tennessee after Bryce Young or Jalen Milroe, whoever it's going to be. Keep going. You were on a roll.
Yeah. Well, you got to. And even when I was coaching defense at Auburn back in the Steve Spurrier days when he was at Florida, and then, of course, Urban Meyer coming in, we had to play him then too, but all the offensive stuff, there's two different offensive styles. But I used to tell my defensive backs, we'd go in there, and I said, boy, how lucky we are. We're getting to play the top offensive team in America, which back then, they just looked unstoppable. I remember they was coming to our place. We had all those injuries. They said, what are you going to do, Coach? I mean, we got all these. We ain't got nobody that's ever been a starting linebacker having to play this game, and they ranked number one in the country and killing everybody. And I'm like, we're fixing to get in their face. We're fixing to disrupt. That's the reason I signed Carlos Rogers. That's the reason I signed this guy. I told him, I said, I want you to come to Auburn to learn to guard these Florida receivers. I said, look, Coach Spurrier's really good. He's going to find the mismatches and all. We're going to help you with that. But Coach Spurrier's not going to throw a pass come Saturday. This quarterback is. And we're fixing to give him some things he hadn't seen. We're going to press. We're going to bail. We're going to mix it up. We're going to do these things. We're going to show 4 high, too high to start with. I call 4 to eat. And then we're going to roll in into some cover 3 steam stuff. And then we're going to roll in some man-free stuff and let them figure out what we're in. But do not see the quarterback, especially in the gun, when he's got to catch that snap, he's got to concentrate just long enough to catch the snap. Well, you want to fool that guy, okay, at that point where he is not knowing where he's going with the football right now. If he gets a pre-snap read with all the technology they have and what they're looking for, and you can give him a pre-snap read before that ball is snapped, advantage to them, okay? But all of a sudden that ball is being snapped. He's having to make his mind up as them linemen are getting up the field and that ball he's got to catch and secure. And all of a sudden his mind is now like, this is not what I thought I saw. The advantage to me comes to me. Okay. So those things we got to beat the quarterback. We don't have to beat the coach that's coaching. We have to beat that quarterback. The coach is not going to take a snap, boys. How much has he drilled that quarterback on what he's actually seeing and what he is fooled on? Okay. So our job is to try to fool the quarterback. All right. Now, that being said, if I'm sitting there and I get up the field on him and trying to disrupt him, then I want to hit him if I can. Now, we all know that you can put it right back with a new set of downs and everything on a roughing penalty and all that. We all get it. Okay. But at the same time, what's the best course of action? To let him feel comfortable all game or go ahead and take a couple? I mean, if unsure, don't ever be dirty, but hit the quarterback. Unsure, hit the quarterback. He's got the ball. So, I mean, that's just me in a nutshell. I just,
Well, and that's the thing about it that, God, Coach, I know we told you this would be about 25, 30 minutes, and I wish we had longer. I know you've got to get going, but we got to get you back on here very soon. Just breaking it down and putting it in the vernacular, just the guys that you've coached over the years, that you are what makes high school and college football special because you get it. You're a truth broker, and you need to be back on the field coaching and keeping my fingers crossed that happens real soon. But the way you talk about the toughness, yeah, you're right. Nick Saban is not going to take a snap. Neither is Josh Heupel. You got to confuse that core. I love what you said. And what would be your parting thoughts on college football, the second half of the season? Have you ever seen so many backup quarterbacks have to step up? That would be just red meat, just raw meat to a tiger, I would think.
Oh, absolutely. You get that guy on there that has not been used to seeing all these things I'm talking about. Now you really play some mind games with it. But I always go on to think that pressure in the end, if you're unsure, pressure burst pipes. Pressure burst pipes. All right. You got to keep sending that pressure. At some point, you have got to make them burst. I don't care. And you got to take that confidence away. Okay. Let them know that you come to hit them. Oh, here's the ruse. But Coach Lally, you ain't going to get away with it because he's fixing to hit you if he gets close now. He's fixing to disrupt you. So I know I don't want to sit back there with them guys coming at me an extra one up the field every play and having to throw. Oh, well, just go ahead. He's going to be open. Or we're going to pick. Oh, yeah, but I'm taking that shot in the chest every time too. Okay. Yeah. You know, that gets kind of tiring.
Yeah, I just remember a couple of years ago, Kevin Steele was in the Auburn locker room before a game. He goes, everybody talks about adversity. How are we going to handle adversity? Talking about the opponent. He goes, hell, we are your adversity. You know,
exactly.
You got the right mentality, Coach. Man, y'all, look, thank you so much. Have a safe trip. And where are you going to be coaching? Or like basically the football future. You're back. You got a long lot of miles to go in your coaching career. But I'll just say this: we need Philip Lally back in college football.
I appreciate that, Rob, and I'm just kind of waiting around. It's the first time I've had any time off, and I think my story wouldn't go back to the CFL for the COVID stuff at all because But I'm gonna get offers up there, and I'm gonna have some things here, and I'm gonna make my mind up, and hopefully, I love Auburn, you know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the most important part about it is in the influence you have on people's lives. But, Coach, thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week, and have a safe fishing trip. Catch a lot.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it, Rob. Thank you, Jimmy.
Bet. Hey,
thank you, Coach.
Great stuff. Jimmy, does that not remind you of why you love college, high school football, a coach like that passionate? Bo Carter checks in right now from out there in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Arlington area, otherwise known as the MP Plex. But I love when Bo Carter comes on here because he's from the Quad Cities in North Alabama, former sports information director at Mississippi State. Back in the days, when the SIDs would meet you at the airport, pick you up, take you to the game. And I'm talking about the other teams' media. Buddy Martin talks a lot about the legendary folks at Mississippi State, Bob Hartley at the SID, and Bo Carter. You are now not only with, you're with the Big 12 office for a long time, the Football Foundation, Baseball Writers of America. We're looking forward to having you on our baseball team because we get after college basketball, college baseball, recruiting. We stick to it. But, man, with the SEC, this is a late June sport now. So you're going to have somebody or a bunch of somebodies from the conference to cover. But let's talk some college football, man. That was great stuff with Coach Philip Lally, his years in high school, college, pro football. Needs to be back in the game. I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that one. But what are your thoughts on the midway point as we head into week 7 for the Big 12, SEC, and the big picture?
Rob, two things. Good to visit with you today. Hopefully you're going to Oxford tomorrow to see the Tigers play Ole Miss.
Got to go to Knoxville. My wife's a Vol for life, so we had to take a turn on this one. And I'm not missing the trip to Oxford because I don't support my school, but got to support my wife. She's a Vol for life.
That's got to keep peace at home. That's what we say all the time.
Happy wife, happy life.
Hey, that'll be great. 2 of the top 5 teams in the country. And also Georgia's celebrating its 100th homecoming. And guess who its opponent should be? Everybody's homecoming opponent, the Fighting Vanderbilt Commodores.
Your alma mater.
Yes, it's going to be. Vandy said that really nice stretch of Alabama, Ole Miss, Open Date, now Georgia. So thank you, Greg. Thank you for some good scheduling for the Commodores this year.
Absolutely. Him and the guy that put Arkansas' schedule together. Good God. Sam Pittman. Hey, put that guy in the room with Sam Pittman. Turn out the lights, close the windows, and let Sam Pittman handle. Man, it's like, you're not. Hey, help me, please. But Bo, SEC life at Big 12. We had Ken Capps on in the first segment talking about Texas and OU. It's getting closer, them merging into the conference. But Big 12 race is exciting. Jimmy talked a lot about that, West Virginia and Baylor last night. What are you seeing other than I've never seen so many backup quarterbacks have to step up and start? Too many guys, I think, are running the ball and they're not listening to their coaches. But your thoughts?
Yeah, that's I've never seen I totally agree. I've never seen the rash of quarterback injuries this year. I know we went to Mississippi State Arkansas game last week. I was speaking to the Starkville Quarterback Club, and I know Mike Leach is very, very cautious about having Will Rogers run. He's had some pretty good open lanes, but I think they told him, they said, stay healthy, son. You're
our meal ticket
guy or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's just he broke the record for most completions in the SEC history. 24 fewer games than what Aaron Murray, Georgia's former quarterback, did. But people say, well, he's throwing the ball 50 times a game. So what? He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks out there. Jimmy Hodge jumping here with Bo Carter on this college football Sidelines Friday.
Yeah, Bo, I guess the big story, and this is Rob's favorite term. I don't know why he hates it so much, but in the Metroplex, this Texas-Oklahoma route, where the Oklahoma people are about to lose their minds. And did it catch you by surprise that the game was so one-sided? And what are your thoughts on the situation at Oklahoma? Because we had Ken Capps on earlier, and I share his belief that Venables is going to be fine, because a lot of people tend to overlook the fact that when Riley left Norman out of nowhere, he took a slew of key players with him, and you can't be in Venables' position with not being able to organize a recruiting class and expect to just win right off the bat with the number of players that left to go to USC.
Jimmy, absolutely true. And the other thing, I'm glad you got Ken Capps. I thought he'd be riding Bevo down streets of downtown. 1 week celebration win. But,
well, I didn't ask him. It may have happened.
He was calling from the saddling up Bevo, the mascot. But no, on a more serious note, yeah, they lost quarterback Dylan Gabriel, who was the transfer from UCF, and boy, that just took the teeth out of their offense. And you hit the nail on the head. Southern California has 22 kids, transfer portal guys who have started for them. Ole Miss is not far behind with 18, including I think 3 from Mississippi State, which is a major no-no. But you see both sides of that transfer portal spectrum. Oklahoma really got wiped out, and then Southern Cal built a new team. So that's been the major problem for the Sooners this year.
Yeah, and Brent Venables, I mean, Ken Capps talked about it. A lot of people, they're frustrated. I mean, that guy can coach. He's got a long track record of success everywhere. But you just said on those transfer portal numbers. I want to ask you now, looking at over in the SEC, Georgia and Alabama, the East versus the West, of the two divisions, it looked like the SEC East was making progress. Kentucky's lost 2 straight. Georgia struggled, and then they played Auburn, 1 going away. Florida against LSU. This game tomorrow down in the Swamp. Remember the shoe game a couple of years ago in the fog? LSU won on that field goal at the last second. But how big is this game for Florida in terms of defining that narrative? Hey, Billy Napier can coach, because everybody right now in the league, the trigger finger is so quick on getting rid of coaches. Billy Napier is going to be successful, I believe, at Florida, but it's hard to convince the fans when they're looking at Georgia and Alabama and Tennessee and Ole Miss, schools like that are doing so well.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys are absolutely right. I'm starting to sound like you're so right, sir. Yeah. But anyway, no, the SEC East has really bulked up this year. Again, even Vanderbilt's playing a little bit better. They beat Hawaii early in the year and
Yeah.
got a couple of good wins. But no, Tennessee's return to power really, I think, helps the SEC up. And boy, remember that third Saturday in October, the Tennessee-Alabama game that you'll be watching this week up there, Rob. Well, I think that might determine the winners in each division. But there's a lot of football left to be played, but the winner of that thing will go a long way toward heading toward the SEC championship game.
Yeah, and you still look at a school, A&M obviously joined the conference in 2012, still hadn't made it to Atlanta. They ain't going to make it this year. Ole Miss, the only longtime member that has not made it to Atlanta. They're 6-0, undefeated, as Sonny Wilson, my man, would say at Alex's Tavern in Memphis. But they got Auburn coming in tomorrow. And, you know, the Ole Miss people, talked to some this morning, you know, the game sold out, no surprise. You know, the Auburn fans are looking at this game and you're saying no Auburn coach has ever survived ever losing in Oxford to Ole Miss to come back the following year as the head coach for any number of reasons. That was it for Pat Dye, Tommy Tuberville, and Gene Chizik. Brian Harsin, it's just it's an odd fit. You know, it's kind of like Jack in the Box that doesn't have a spring. Sometimes, you know, the Island of Misfit Toys. I'm a coach in the Southeastern Conference that doesn't like to recruit. What am I going to do? You know, so anyway, you ain't going to be long for this SEC world. I can tell you that. But looking at Ole Miss and what Lane Kiffin's doing in the portal, the guy, there's a narrative on him that, well, he doesn't like Saban doesn't like him and all that. That's silly. I don't know, but I mean, he changed Nick Saban's way of coaching, brought him into the modern era. What's the ceiling for Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin? Because they're getting out of their comfort zone.
It's unlimited, honestly. They I mean, they're able to recruit. It's a really I don't mean to use the word party school, but they have quite a few assets down there that make it the Grove, you know, the tradition, the whole thing down there, and very friendly place, a lot like Starkville and Auburn. You know, it used to have sort of a haughty reputation, but now I think it's amazing the number of people from the Dallas-Fort Worth area that end up over there too, Robin. And sort of once the word got out, there's been a steady stream of people going over there. But they got a great offense. Their defense has improved, and I think this might be the year for the Rebels.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Evans, the transfer from TCU, and golly, Kenshawn Judkins out of Park Crossing there in Montgomery, the new town that was created. All right, let's do this. We're going to take a quick break, going to come back with you for a few more minutes. But I'm looking at this big picture, and A&M and Arkansas have both, you know, lost several games. They're not going to be going to Atlanta. You got Alabama and Ole Miss. I think that showdown is coming up, and that's going to be a ginormous game, as my kids would say. Ginormous. Is that a word? We'll check that out. But anyway, we're on Jimmy Hodge up in Knoxville, Bo Carter out in you in Dallas, Fort Worth, or Arlington?
Yeah, Dallas, Fort Worth.
Yeah, okay, DFW. Okay, but we'll be right back after this quick commercial break on Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Bo Carter back with Jimmy Hodge getting back there. Get back in your chairs, children. Like the teacher walking out of the room. And everybody's running around during the breaks. But Bo Carter, looking around, though, SEC, Ole Miss, Alabama, that's another one, a showdown coming up. We got a big one tomorrow, Tennessee and Alabama in Knoxville. It's a streaky series. The 15 years before, it was 10-4-1 in favor of Tennessee. Since the Sabinator got to Tuscaloosa, it's 0-15. Tennessee fans are excited. The pride of the Southland band is going to form that giant T before the team runs onto the field. It's all there, but I'm looking at it in my crazy way my head works and saying, you're most likely to get mugged in your own driveway, Tennessee. Approach this like it's a road game, because Alabama's coming in with a good case of the red ass, because they were pushed to the limit against an A&M team that's not very good. 24-point underdog that went down to the last play. I think this is the kind of game Nick Saban loves.
Yes, and that is pretty. I read that earlier this week. I don't think any coach has ever had a 15-0 record against Tennessee going back to the 1890s or whatever.
Yeah,
and they Alabama's had those close calls, with both Texas and A&M. And I think the big if is if Bryce Anderson's back at kind of full health. I think they might have rested him last week to sort of get him ready for this week's game. And Milroe, the backup, is really even a faster foot speed than Anderson, but he's not quite the passer that Bryce Anderson was. So it's pardon me, it's going to be really a knockdown drag out in Knoxville, obviously.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker is really, really a good quarterback, transferred from Virginia Tech. And I'd like to know how many teams in the SEC's starting quarterbacks signed with those particular schools they're starting for out of high school versus how many of them came in versus the transfer portal. That's an interesting stat to follow. Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean, it has always been a series of streaks, but man, this is taking it to the maximum, 15 years in a row. And I remember being at that game at 06, the last game Tennessee won, and Tennessee had no business winning that game. That was the last year Mike Shula and
man,
Alabama.
We were hoping for contract extension for Shula.
Hey, no kidding. And
Come on,
even though Alabama was like 3-3 at the time, and they were
those
going
were the good old days.
Yeah, and they were playing not to lose. I remember they had a 4th and goal at the 1-yard line, and they went for the field goal, and Alabama players on the field, you could tell by their body language they were not happy at all. And that kind of summed up, I think, the Shula years. And again, from that point on, it's just been a different story with Saban. What's so ironic about that first Alabama win was that the very day before, in typical NCAA fashion, they announced that 7 Alabama players would be suspended for 4 games because of a book selling situation that was spread among athletes from 15 different sports, and it involved up to 150 student athletes. And in other cases that were exactly the same, all the other schools got a slap on the wrist, but then Alabama loses 4 starters and 7 key players for 4 weeks, but yet Alabama ended up winning the game easily. And man, I tell you what, not many games have been competitive since. We all know the back-to-back blocked field goals at the end of the 2009 game, but outside of that, not many of these games have been competitive. Although last year, Alabama was only up by a touchdown going into the 4th quarter, and then they intercepted a pass, got a couple of stops, and pulled away late. But yeah, this has all the makings of just a tremendous game.
Bo, you're talking about all these big games, and in your years in media, SEC, Big 12, what have you. I think the interest in college football we talk about the portal and the NIL a lot, especially in the off season. I think it's just making fans more attracted to the game. And our friend Buddy Martin, GatorbaitMedia.com, and the Buddy Martin Show Monday through Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. Shameless plug. I sound like David Brenner when he'd come on the Tonight Show on a Wednesday night and he'd go, shameless plug, I'm going to be at the Sands Hotel this Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I think about that. He says, who owns college football? The fans do. He's got a Sunday morning podcast, orangeandbluebloods.com, and you take the loyalty oath about the fans. I'm going to throw another thing. We had Jackie Sherrill on the show yesterday. Man, God, that's fun. He out of Wimberley, Texas, and native of Duncan, Oklahoma, I might add. One of the smarter minds in college football. As a media, now they call him a media relations director. Why did we have to go screw that up? The sports information director was the oracle of literary genius at every SEC school. Langston Rogers at Ole Miss, David Housel, Buddy Davidson at Auburn. You think about, Norm Carlson at Florida, you at Mississippi State. You think about down at LSU, Herb Vincent was there at one time doing it. Claude Felton at Georgia, Haywood Harris, Bud Ford at Tennessee. Haywood Harris' famous phrase, tradition never graduates. How much fun would it be to get all those guys together with a bunch of Jack Daniels and Hamm's beer and just close the doors and let her rip about what goes on? Why do we have to have a media relations director that basically specializes in doing one thing? No, you can't do that. I'm tired of that crap.
That's a great point. And the reason they changed over from sports information director, Rob, when the gambling services started really, legally or on the surface anyway in the 70s and 80s, they kept saying, get the latest sports information in line on the Auburn Ole Miss game from, gambling.com or whatever now with FanDuel and all those people. Now it's really magnified. But I guess the schools decided to go to media relations director. And the College Sports Information Directors of America just changed its name to College Sports Communicators. Don't ask me why. They brought a guy in from the NCAA as executive director, and he wanted to put his mark on it. So I guess I got to get my Hall of Fame plaque changed.
Hey, I remember working as a student, a volunteer in high school in my freshman year in the press box at Auburn, and I was always told, don't answer when you answer the phone, somebody's on there going, yo, Joey Bag of Donuts, exit 95 in Piscataway. You give me how's Auburn going to do today, huh? Hey, how you doing, huh? And say, click. And then, you'd always hear the post-game radio shows, and you could always tell the guys that bet a lot, and believe me, per capita, the state of Alabama, when you're in the crib at birth, you're giving a spreadsheet. I mean, we had 3 bookies in the fraternity house. It was great. We sold cold beer during chapter meetings. It was a lot of fun. But people nowadays are betting on, I'll bet you right now, Gus Malzahn picks his nose before halftime. I mean, it's getting to where it's BSC, and you know what those initials stand for. But
yes.
Let's just get back to the sports information director. And I'm going to tell you something. If I'm an athletic director, and what I do is I say, I'm going to hold a press conference, and I'm going to say, I'm going to look right in the camera. I'm going to say to the fans, I apologize for the transgressions since 9/11, but we cannot continue to tread water forever and run around being scared. We're going to open the campus back up. First come, first serve, tailgating and everything. Sure, we'll have places for scholarship donors and all, but let's welcome the fans back. Let's let people park and tailgate, and it's their school. By the way, I just checked. All but Vanderbilt are public state universities. They are the people's universities. I want to start a populist movement of college football sports fans. We want our campuses back, and we're tired of these persnickety little weasels that just specialize in saying, no, you can't do that. No, you can't park here. No, you don't give enough money. We just had Philip Lally from Choctaw, Alabama on the show, coached at Auburn for years. Hope he comes back, talking about, the people, not just the people with a lot of money, which you love them, but what about the person that's out there helping you chalk the field off on a Wednesday night before a football game? that are there making hot dogs and volunteering. Don't you ever forget those people, because I heard a story about Coach Bryant when he first got to Alabama, and it came from someone who would know, but it was along the line of he headed down to South Alabama in 1958, went to a barbecue restaurant out in the country. I think he was the only white person in there, and went in there and he said, "What you got good to eat in there?" And said, "Ain't nothing you would like." He said, "Well, what do you got?" And he loved it and built a relationship with the guy, and he asked him to get him an autographed picture. He sent it to him when he got back to Tuscaloosa. Years later, there was a press conference in 1976 in Atmore, Alabama. And Alabama, it was the day that they got the signature from a guy named Don McNeil, great defensive back.
Yes.
Was on that national championship team in 1979. And an old man came up to Coach Bryant out there in the audience and said, "That's my grandson up there. I always told him he should go to Alabama because the way you treated me." That stuff matters, damn it.
It really does. And the latest thing, Rob, when I was with Mississippi State talking to people, the big thing now is the tow truck, which they've always had that problem on game day or right before at Vanderbilt and Tulane. The urban campuses, Tulane back in the old days, but they would tow trucks would circle the area. And I won't mention the guy's name, but one time one of Vanderbilt's football players got one towed. In fact, what happened to Quinn Ewers before one of the Texas games, I think when they were playing Louisiana or somebody.
This year?
ULM. But yeah, this year early, he parked in the wrong space and got his Lexus or his Bentley on his NIL.
It's an Aston Martin, isn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah, he has Aston Martin. It's C.J. Stroud that has the Bentley.
Oh, ups.
Yeah, that's right.
Grey Poupon, please, Winthorpe.
And Bijan Robinson has a Lamborghini.
Sorry, Jimmy, go ahead.
No, he's just talking about BJ.
Bijan Robinson has a Lamborghini. So there are a lot of impressive rides out there among the elite players in the Power Five.
Man,
you're right.
Yeah.
And on the tow truck thing too, a former Vanderbilt football player took a tire iron out of his trunk and beat up a tow truck driver who was latching his car up to be towed away. So it could be circumstances surrounding those if they don't pay attention to the populous fans, as Rob was talking.
Okay. Hey, Bo. Listen, man, we've run out of time for this segment, unfortunately, because on a tight schedule today. But I'm going to tell you something. What you just said, this is exactly what we need to do, and we're going to develop this more and more. The populist movement to reclaim college football campuses. Let the fans, these are state universities. I'm just so tired of, again, being told, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. You know what? Tell me what we can do.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyway, Bo Carter, how do people follow you?
Yeah, it just at Bo Carter 52 on Twitter, or Texas Sports Daily or Sports Page DFW. All those love to hear from you. Please email or call anytime.
Hey, and then look, when we get into basketball and then baseball, we're gonna want you on our baseball team. We have Coach Butch Thompson on almost every week from mid January. Be a lot of fun. But hey, Braves need to get the win tonight up in Philadelphia. We got the bookends on the Eastern Front. We've got the Russian front. No, I know nothing. So we got the Atlanta Braves, and on the Western Front, we got the St. Louis Cardinals. And just think of the golden pipes of Mike Shannon. Pop open an ice cold can of Anheuser-Busch. Harry Carey here. I love it. Anyway, Bo, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Good to talk to you, Rob and Jimmy. Have a good week.
Absolutely. Thanks. Ditto. Always on our end. Okay, we're going to pick up now. Got a lot going on. We got Mark Hamm should be checking in with us in the Top Tennessee Tailgate Report. And we're going to have another special guest that's going to try to call in here. The Munford Flash, we're hoping, is going to be able to call in and join us here in this final, segment that we have coming up. But Jimmy, you with me? I mean, this you can't do this, you can't do that. We've got to get back to the basics of the fans. Let's go to Lugenbach, Texas, Waylon and Willie and the boys. Let's get back to the fans. You went to the game on Saturday, and Another thing we're going to try to do is abolish the 11 a.m. kickoff. I mean, I've seen some great things happen. I'll never forget Warren Whitaker back in college at the chapter meeting, Sigma Newhouse, brought up an amendment to permanently ban beef stew from the menu. Ida and Mary would make it once a week. It was before we knew what a colonoscopy was. I'll just leave it at that. And it was banned. Thank you, Warren Whitaker. But anyway, let's get going now. Mark Hamm is on here with us right now, and Johnny Jones, the Munford Flat. Mark, I thought I would bring on someone who knows a little bit about the Tennessee-Alabama rivalry. Johnny Jones, long time was the rusher in Tennessee history. And Johnny, had you on here last year. And Mark, I don't know if you're old enough to remember this. October 15th, 1983, I'm walking out of the church from my sister's wedding. I'd been sweating bullets all day. Auburn was struggling against Georgia Tech, got the win 31-13. Playing down there in Birmingham at Legion Field, and the Vols are backed up at their own 34-yard line. Alan Cockrell comes to the line. He's going to pitch out to Johnny Jones, and, man, you went 66 yards. What did he do? Touchdown, Big Orange. Give him 6. How big, how fired up this game. Johnny, Audrey and I are heading up to Knoxville. You're on with Jimmy Hodge up in Knoxville, Rocky Top Tennessee Tailgate Report, Mark Hamm, who grew up in Collierville but lives in Knoxville. And we're going to the game this weekend. You know I'm an Auburn man, but got a lot of Tennessee fans listening. And so, Johnny, how fired up is you got chills on your neck and just bouncing off the walls for this game this weekend?
Yes, sir. I definitely got some chills on this for this game and feeling real good about it, too.
Yeah. I mean, and you think about 15 in a row. What's going on in the heads, do you think, of those Tennessee players trying to break that streak? I believe you know about breaking, an 11-year streak against Alabama in 1982?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Shoot, it's something you will never forget. I'm telling you, hey, shoot, every time you mention Alabama, I always think about that, and shoot, just looking forward to the game tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, we all remember. I was 1982 freshman year in college. Tennessee won. Was it 28-21?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Coach Majors was going wild. I think he even pulled the plaid jacket, the plaid blazer off. I bet there was some whiskey drank celebrating that night. I'm just going to leave it at that. Mark Hamm, jump in here with us right now. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this commercial message. Hold on.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Rob Browne broadcasting live from the mother-in-law's hacienda up here in Clarksville, Tennessee. On our way up to Knoxville, we got an all-star panel. Jimmy Hodge up in Knoxville. Johnny Jones, a Munford Flash, back in Munford, Tipton County. And Mark Hamm, Rocky Top Tennessee Tailgate Report, on with us as well up in Knoxville, host of the largest tailgate on the hill, long-time volunteer. And, of course, my wife, his cousin Audrey, his sister, Ball for life. People say, you're not going to be in Oxford this weekend for the Auburn-Ole Miss game? No, I'm not. Hey, happy wife, happy life. It's true. I got to go up there and let the Vols play this weekend. But, Mark, you're on here with a legend for Tennessee. You talk about a Vol for life and a guy that is really working to make a positive impact in people's lives. This is what we love there's two things we love about college football. We love the people that play the game, and we love to see them succeed and do well in life and help other people once they leave the game, but they never leave being involved for life, do they, Mark?
They do not. And if I could just go here, this is like, the first time you meet the Lord here, meeting Johnny Jones. Because I'll tell you, my first time in Neyland was in '83 or '84. I walk in, they were playing Memphis, and it was raining like no other. And the minute I stepped foot out of that tunnel into Neyland, the first time I ever seen it, I mean, it's like the heavens opened up, right? Johnny Jones took it to the house, about 60 yards to the house. It was the first play, swear to God, I've ever seen in the Needle Stadium, and I'll never forget it. You're the man. That was my official welcoming to Neyland, and I've never forgotten it, and I'm still there today, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was
Johnny,
awesome.
Johnny, you think about this, what this game means to people. And Jimmy, grew up, played high school football, was an all-state football player in Clinton, Tennessee, which is right next to Knoxville. When and this Tennessee-Alabama game, now I know as an Auburn man growing up, the fourth Saturday in September, Auburn always played Tennessee. And I mean, believe me, if Auburn lost to Tennessee, I'd have about 50 or 60 crushed oranges in my driveway when I got home. That's what we love about college football. And I got so many. I mean, Ed Kaiser, a dear friend of mine, works up there, Jameson Fisher Insurance Company on the square there in Covington. And he is a ball for life. Gary Maloney, Jim Nafee, Jeff Heimbach, all these great Johnny Jenkins listening right now down in Dothan, Alabama, all for life. Scotty Speed. What's it like? And we're going to get up to Jimmy in a second. But what's it like right now, the day before this game? How do you kind of insulate yourself from all the excitement? Because when the Pride of the Southland band comes out and forms that giant T, and the crowd rises to their feet, the Vol Navy 21-gun salute, what is it like? Because in just a few moments, when the Tennessee Volunteers come running on that field with the guy in the dang Davy Crockett coonskin hat with Smokey the Hound, the band is playing, and you run through that giant T, just describe what that is like. It is football time in Tennessee. How special is that to you?
Oh shoot, it's nothing like it. I'm serious. Just knowing the fans all behind you, and when you're running, hear all that echo sound and the balls. Shoot, I'm telling you, it's hard to even explain.
Yeah, it really is. It's an incredible environment. And here's my take. I want to ask you this. I'm looking at it. Tennessee's got to be careful not to get too comfortable, being at home. I think you can follow me on this. Alabama's coming in already, with a good case of the red arse because of what happened last week. They've been told all week they're not that good. Tennessee's hearing about, hey, man, you're going to break the streak. You're 6-0. If you're a Tennessee player right now, are you just focusing on going out and doing your job?
That's it. That's the main thing. You worry about taking care of your job instead of the other person. If everybody do their job, it's just like a puzzle coming together. And hey, that's the thing. What everybody's saying outside, once you get on that field, you only thing you think about is beating Alabama. That's the only thing you're thinking about.
And that if you do that, you get to smoke a cigar, don't you?
Oh yes, sir. You definitely get to smoke a cigar.
Jimmy Hodge, jump in here. You've been to a few Tennessee Alabama games.
Yeah, Johnny, and I wanted to ask you about that '84 game. When there was about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and you guys were down 27-13, and they pitched the ball to you on a toss sweep, and you got knocked out of bounds. And as a still bitter Alabama fan, you got knocked out of bounds about two feet short of the first down marker. And the reason I know, I was sitting right where you got knocked out of bounds, and in those days, they didn't have replay, of course, and it wasn't a televised game. And
Mhm.
you and Jimmy Harper, his officiating crew worked the game, and Jimmy Harper's one of the best referees in the history of college football. But there was a lot of chaos around where you went out of bounds, and you guys very wisely went right up to the line of scrimmage before they could realize what happened, and you snapped the ball as if you made the first down. And the fact that you guys got up to the line of scrimmage real quick, Jimmy kind of looked to the sideline and signaled first down. So then you guys go on and drive 60 yards for the touchdown to make it 27-20. And then you held them, and then Kramer ran that punt return down to the 5-yard line, and you guys won with a 28-27. Do you remember that sequence of you guys kind of lining up at the line of scrimmage and say, hey, let's get this thing going, before they have a chance to think about it?
Hey, they always say the end of the question, you run up to the line of scrimmage right quick and let's go.
And by the way, Johnny, I'm not going to tell anybody about it. We'll just keep that between me and you, But there are so many great stories about Alabama Tennessee games. And of course, you've had some great ones because you broke the streak in 82, when you had the interception at the end of the game. And as a fan, are there any recent games that kind of stand out for you as far as a couple of the Peyton Manning games, or just games from that time span since you were a player?
Oh shoot! Anytime, I guess you can say anytime we play Alabama, that's our biggest rival. And anytime we show up and play them, those are games you never forget, regardless. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, Johnny, I wanted to ask you that because in these younger generations of Tennessee fans, now obviously, if you're 40 years or older, it is Alabama. But since the SEC expanded to 12 teams in '92, and you had Eastern and Western divisions, that Florida game has always been so critical because you played it early, and especially in the 90s, whoever won that game was going to have the inside track to get to the SEC championship game. So I'm wondering, for these younger generation of fans, the Florida game's always been huge, and is that mindset a little different among the younger fans over the years that you know?
Yeah, it's pretty much about like you said, because you beat the Florida game, you pretty much got a good chance of winning the East. So I guess that's pretty much the biggest rival now to the guys that are now. Because once you get past them, because we on the East side and you got Alabama, they the West. So when you beat Florida, you pretty much got a good chance of winning the West. I mean, the East side.
Yeah. Hey, Mark Hamm, if you're there, I think your mic hopefully is working now. But jump back in this conversation with Johnny Jones, talking about Tennessee, some of the great games. Now you throw Georgia in addition to Florida, which Florida had won 16 of the previous 17. Tennessee got that off their back this year, but it went down to a potential Hail Mary from Anthony Richardson at the end. Mark, you're in Knoxville right now. What's the level of intensity on a 1 to 10 right now? 10 being people are doing backflips and they're already.
I'd say it's about a 20 right now. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, it's about a 20 right now. I mean, we thought Florida was loud. I couldn't even hear the next day.
Yeah. Well, Mark, you talk about that intensity up there. Are the fans? I'm sure that the RVs, the tailgates, and everything like that are already going up, aren't they?
Oh yeah. I've had so many people that have called, and like I said, I judge our season by our tailgate, and I don't know how many people have asked for tickets. I don't know how many people are on the way to Knoxville. I got people coming up to stay. I mean, it's insane. It is absolutely insane, and I think it's going to be really, really loud, because when you lose this many times to Bama, I think our AD was being a little proactive, and he's got some new goalposts being made just in case. But I hope those old ones come down. It's time to flush those out and put the new ones up.
Yeah, it is. Johnny, again, if you're going through the Vol Walk tomorrow, the head coach of Tennessee, flanked by the traditional Tennessee State Troopers, the Pride of the Southland Marching Band, man, when that Rocky Top, as an Auburn man, for Auburn and Alabama folks, our generation, there is no greater road trip than that trip to Knoxville. I think about my good friend Lloyd, Uncle Charlie Monger. His grandparents lived across the street from General Neyland, and they've had season tickets in their family almost, I think it's 95 years now. And believe me, with the priority seating, I think they're on the 50-yard line. I think they may be on the sidelines pretty soon. I mean, talk about right now, what do you think is going to happen in this game with what you've seen of Tennessee and Alabama?
Well, I think that Tennessee gonna give them. It's gonna be a close game, and that's something not expecting. But I think Tennessee gonna pull it off at the end, though.
You like the Hendon Hooker? They throw the ball a lot, but this isn't some empty set backfield 4 or 5 wide out soft team. Tennessee can man up and run the ball and impose their will on you. That's the difference with this team versus a lot of teams we see in other conferences, isn't it?
Yes, it is. The run game has really improved so much, and the passing. What else can you ask for? No interception. Hey, that speaks for itself right there.
Give us a score.
Ooh.
As long as it's 1 point more than Alabama.
Hey, I don't care as long as it's 1 point. That don't make no difference. As long as 1 point, as long as we're ahead.
Yeah. Mark, jump back in here. Mark Hamm, Rocky Top Tennessee Tailgate Report. I mean, I'll just say this. The Cumberland Strip will be they'll have to just shut it down. They'll have to shut down the Smokies. They'll have to shut down everything. It will be like St. Patrick's Day in Orange if they beat Alabama.
Yeah, it's going to be like Mardi Gras, I think, over there. So it will be insane for sure. So we're gearing up for a party after the after party, after the game. But look, I'm kind of like you. Look, I think we're having a great year, and we got a great coach, and we're executing. I hope these guys that are on the team, don't really look at streaks. I think they've kind of flushed that out of their mind. But let's be honest. I mean, you got to give Alabama credit. I mean, they got a lot of talent. And if Bryce Young's arm is still hurting, his shoulder still hurting, and he's not playing, I'm okay with that. I think I give us a better chance. But I agree it's going to be a close game. I think we're going to be able to put some points up. But they do have a lot of talent. And, our number one receiver's we're playing, but we got other number ones now. So, I think if we're able to throw the ball and move the ball, and we've been able to do that against a lot of good teams, I think we have a real good chance to win the game. And I think we can be very competitive with them. But I think it's going to be Johnny. I think it's going to be a close game.
Johnny, you think about that. Your most famous run in the Tennessee-Alabama series in '83, but you were there 5 years at Tennessee. You beat Alabama as a player 4 times. You had some special teammates. I mean, guys like Dale Jones, great linebacker, Reggie White, pretty good defensive lineman. You in that locker room for Tennessee before they go out there, when you tap on, I will give my all for Tennessee today, and you're running and you're running and you see Will Anderson coming at you. You see Dallas Turner, Henry Toa, former Vol coming at you. You get kind of an extra bit of juice in your run where you ain't going down until they stop you. You are their adversity. They've got to stop you. And, they better be worried about – I'm not worried about them. They better be worried about me.
Oh, yes. You always – being a running back, you always think that way. That's the last thing you want to do is get tackled and don't want to go down easy. You always want to fall forward and breaking tackles. To me, my hardest game was in practice playing against Reggie White there.
Yeah, I bet that was. Let me ask you this too: if you're in the locker room right now, there's the ghost of General Neyland and Johnny Majors and Coach Fulmer and all the great Tennessee coaches that have come before you. Give us a quick 30-second pregame talk after you've been out in the field warming up, You go back in that locker room, 100,000 plus rising to their feet. It's insane. The Vol Navy's there. Everybody. There's 500,000 people in and around Knoxville for this game, 100,000 inside of it. Now you've got your moment to talk to the Tennessee Volunteers because you know what Alabama's bringing.
Well, you just go out there and tell them, hey, all the practices, hidden and blood sharing and all this, it all come up to this. Hey, it's a do or die situation. And beating Alabama would be one of the best things, one of the things you'll never forget. And the fans out there waiting for it, parents looking, everybody looking on TV, looking at the game. Hey, we just ready to go. This is it.
And you think about the fans that sacrifice and give everything they got. Like Philip Lolly, former Auburn coach, was on right before you, said, you know, the people that live paycheck to paycheck, they're at all those games. It's the people everywhere that are pulling, as John Ward would say, from Memphis to the Great Smoky Mountains and everywhere in between. This is the Tennessee Volunteer Network. It means you feel that, don't you, when you run out there through that giant T?
Oh, yes, you do. You know, you represent the whole state of Tennessee. And the last thing you want to do is let the fans down and let your coaches and everybody else down.
Yeah. Man, I'm telling you, I'm not playing. I'm ready to go over there. But,
you get me hyped up already. I'm ready to go myself.
And I mean, look,
come on, Johnny, come on.
20 seconds to go, but Jimmy, Mark, Johnny, Wally, Ken Capps, Bo Carter, great show. Look, this weekend, go out and have fun, give everything you got. It's all about sportsmanship and the relationships. But Haywood Harris is right. Tradition never graduates. Go out and help somebody with the expectation to get nothing in return. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. And folks, we live in the greatest country in the world. Act like it, be proud, and try smiling. It makes a hell of a difference. See you tomorrow. Thank y'all, everybody.
All right.